Alright guys, so I feel like the Math Nation tutors, here's part 2 of today's section. Right now we're finding the area of polygons. So in the earlier video we talked about area of triangles. Now we're talking about area of other polygons. And remember, we can use the radii to break up the polygons, the regular polygons, into smaller triangles. So this pentagon can be broken up into 5 triangles. I feel like you guys are pretty good with finding the area of a triangle. So let's say if I told you the base was 5 and the height was, 4. You could use area equals 1/2 times the base times the height. So let me get that to focus. There we go. The base is 5. So 1/2 times 5 times the height is 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Half of that is 10. So you guys could find that the area of that triangle is 10. But a pentagon has 5 triangles inside it, so to find the area of the whole thing, we could take that and multiply it by the number of sides that there are. When we're multiplying it by the number of sides that there are, we are taking this base and finding the perimeter of that. Remember, the perimeter is the distance all the way around. So if this side is 5, that one's going to be 5, that one's 5, that one's 5, that one's 5. To find that perimeter, we could take the side length, which here is 5, and multiply it by the number of sides, which is 5. So the perimeter of this one would be 25. 5 times 5. So to find the area of this whole thing, you could find the area of one triangle and multiply it by the number of sides that there are in that shape. So 10 times 5 is 50. Or you can do it with this formula, 1/2 times the apothem, which is the height of the triangle. We learned about that last time. That's the apothem, times the perimeter. And the perimeter is just the base multiplied by the number of sides in that. So for this one, 1/2 times the apothem is 4, times, well, the perimeter is 5 times 5, which would be 25. So instead of saying the perimeter is 5, that's what that one was for, it's 5 times 5, 25. So 1/2 times 4 times 25 is 100, and then half of that is 50. So we get the same answer as if we had used this method. Both of them will work. Use whichever one makes more sense to you and more consistently gives you the correct answer. A common mistake on these is that people are just finding the area of one triangle, forgetting that you have to multiply it by the number of sides. That's what makes it the perimeter instead of just the base. Alright, so the apothem, the height of each isosceles triangle within each polygon. So that's an isosceles triangle. This is the apothem. And remember, the apothem makes a right angle there. So if we ever had to solve for a missing side, we could use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Alright, this is a hexagon, which means it's going to have equilateral triangles formed inside it. And that's the apothem. And in this dodecagon, 12-sided figure, this is the apothem. Okay, so isosceles triangle, isosceles triangle, isosceles triangle, hexagon, the only one with equilateral triangles. All the others have isosceles. That's important to know for your quiz. Okay, so let's do some practice problems with this. A pentagon has side lengths of 3, and an apothem of 2.1. What is its area? So The area is 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. It tells us the apothem is 2.1. So plug that in, times 2.1. And then we need to find the perimeter. Well, it tells us the side length is 3, and perimeter is side length times the number of sides. Well, they tell us it's a pentagon, so that means 5 sides. So perimeter is side length is 3 times the number of sides, 5. Remember, that's just saying, all right, the side length is the base of the triangle, but we have 5 triangles here, so multiply it, that final answer, by 5. So perimeter, 3 times 5, 15. So that's what we plug in here. So using a calculator, you can plug these in any order. You can multiply 2.1 times 15 and then multiply by 0.5, or 15 times 2.1 and then divide by 2. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter what order you put it in. I'm just going to do 0.5 times 2.1 times 15. So it says round to the nearest tenths place, so 15.75 would become 15.8. All right, next, a decagon. A deca, like a decade, has 10 years. A decagon has 10 sides. It has side lengths of 8 and an apothem of 1.3. What is its area? So area, 1/2 times apothem times perimeter. The perimeter here is 10 times the side lengths, which is 8, so that's going to be 80. So 1/2 times 1.3 times the perimeter is 80. So this time I'm going to plug this one in a little bit differently. 80 times 1.3, again, it doesn't matter what order you multiply those in, equals, but then we have to take half of that. So instead of multiplying by 0.5, I'll divide by 2 and get still the correct answer of 52. All right, next one. This one's a little bit different, a little bit trickier. This time they give us the area, they give the apothem, and they give the side length, and we have to find how many sides. So area is 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. And remember, the perimeter is equal to the number of sides, n, times side length. So here, the area, 127.3, and that equals 1/2 times the apothem, 6.06, times side lengths of 7. So here we have perimeter, and perimeter is made up of side lengths, 7, times n, the number of sides. That's what we're trying to solve for. How many sides? So we have this being multiplied by this, being multiplied by this, being multiplied by this. So we can multiply all these numbers together. And if you do that, 0.5 times 6.06 times 7, that gives us 21.21. Times n, so I'm just going to write n right behind it. And then we bring the 127.3 down on the left side. Alright, we want to solve for n, so let's move the 21.21 to the other side. It's being multiplied by that, so we're going to divide both sides by 21.21. It cancels out on the right, and on the left, 127.3 divided by 21.21. Alright, n is equal to, well, n represents the number of sides. Why do we get not a whole number? Because we can't have a polygon with a little more than 6 sides. We can't have one with a little less than 6 sides. That's just because this was probably rounded. So if you are really close to a whole number, which this is 6.0018, that's really close to 6. We'll just assume there's rounding going on within these figures. And now if you get something like 5.99, yeah, that's really close to 6. Go ahead and round up to 6. Probably 6-sided polygon. If you get something more like 6.5, 5.5, that's a little far away, so probably putting things into the formula incorrectly, or maybe punching it into the calculator incorrectly. All right, next page. So these are just practicing with that formula, and they're pretty straightforward. The key is, remember to find the perimeter. The perimeter is the side length times the number of sides. So this one has 5. So that perimeter is 20. Go ahead and do the perimeter for all of these. The perimeter of this one, 9 times, this is a hexagon, 6. 9 times 6 is 54. And the perimeter of this one, 5 times, this is a 7-sided, a heptagon, so that's going to be 35. Okay, so when we're plugging into area is 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. The apothem is straightforward in each of these. We just need to find the area after we plug in the perimeter and the apothem. All right, so 1/2 times 2.75, that's the apothem, times the perimeter, 20. So 0.5 times 2.75 times 20. So this one, it doesn't tell us what to round to, so we'll just write 27.5. For the next one, the area is 1/2 times the apothem, which is 7.79, times the perimeter, not 9, the perimeter is 9 times 6, the number of sides, which is 54. That's a 4, not a 9. Okay, so plugging that one in, 0.5 times 7.79 times 54. Great, 210.33. Okay, and last one. 1/2 times the apothem here, 5.19, times 35 is the perimeter. So 0.5 times 5.19 times 35, 90.825. And that's it. That's how you find the area of the polygons. So if you were not here on Thursday or Friday, the home or the classwork was on Math Excel. It is in class practice. And then on A day, it's in class practice 228, and then B day, it's in class practice 3-1. If you were not here, this is required to be made up. So this is for a grade. It's not excused even if you weren't here, even if you had testing. This was the classwork assignment for that day. So make sure you get that done. Practice those problems. On A day, skip number 1. You don't have to do that one. I'm not going to count that one against you. B day, I removed it, so you don't even have that one. Don't worry about it. You do all, I think there's 5 problems. And then this one, skip number 1, do the rest. So only 5 problems for you guys to do. It's not that much. It should not take you more than just a few minutes to get that done. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions. Email, remind. Big quiz on Monday and Tuesday. I know we just took a quiz, but we are booking through this material to make sure we cover everything for the EOC. Let me know if you have questions, guys.